Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Glen Owen, a personal trainer, speaker, and creator of the Drive Method, a practical approach to building strength and longevity. With over 15 years of experience working with active adults, Glenn challenges many of the fitness beliefs we've accepted for years, arguing that strength, not endless cardio or stretching, is one of the biggest predictors of living a healthy, independent life. His upcoming book, Done Differently, explores how we can build the body we will need decades from now. Glenn, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Sekani, what a glowing introduction. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really grateful and I'm looking forward to chatting with you. You seem like such a warm person.
All right, I guess, although I have a lot of questions for you, right, regarding what I just read now, so we're
Yeah.
gonna dive into that. But yeah, before we do, I want you to take us back, right, to your 20s, although you look like you're in your 20s, but if you can take us back, right, who were you then and what, goals or ambitions were driving you at that stage of your life?
Wow. How honest do we want to be right now, Sekani? You know what? When you're 20 and you are in university, you are just partying and having a great time, and that was not really that healthy for me. I actually went through
Mhm.
7 years of university when it really should have been four because I didn't take my life too seriously, partly because I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do at that point in time. I'd be lying to all of your listeners if I said I was this ambitious, focused young man, going through life. But the reality is, I was drinking. There was a little bit of drugs involved. I was failing courses. I wasn't making much of myself. Yeah, that's where I was in my 20s. I don't know if you want me to talk about the turnaround or if you just want me to talk about all the bad stuff right now.
Actually, I think we should skip to the good parts.
Okay, fair enough. So what one of the glowing things that did happen in universities, I randomly took this nutrition course, even though I wasn't really that interested in nutrition. And I got really blessed
Mm,
by having a really amazing professor. He's one of those professors that he really takes the time out of his day to nurture you and to mentor you to answer all your questions, really devoted. His name was Dr. Mazen Hamadi. We still keep in touch to this day. And I asked him after taking his course, I said, I'm not really a nutrition guy, but can I volunteer in your lab? And he said yes. And I saw through his encouragement and his feedback and his honesty what was possible for me. It's amazing that when we have a hard time believing in ourselves, to have someone else take belief in us, kind of is almost like a Kickstarter, right? In order for us to start moving forward in our lives. So he took a belief in me and I started putting in work. And I think this is an interesting thing is, when you start doing little things every day and putting a little bit of work, it compounds and it builds on top of each other. There's this really great Will Smith quote where he says, "You don't build the wall all at one time. You take one brick and you lay that brick as perfectly as it can be laid. And then you lay another one, and then eventually you have a wall." And I think that was one of my first forays into doing that from a career growth perspective, was putting a little bit of work every day to learn something new, to help out at the lab, help me become more confident in myself and my abilities. And I eventually decided I'm going to be into personal training. And then, ever since then, I've been doing that. So it's kind of like a little bit about who I was in my 20s. And I think probably the biggest turning point was being a part of this team where I felt really encouraged to grow.
mm. Wow. So when I said let's skip to the good part, I just said that so that people out there would know that it's actually possible to turn a new leaf, right? Because there are so many people right now. I don't want to say their way of life is bad, but they're probably not in the right track right now. So hearing your story would serve as like an encouragement and it will give hope to them to know that you can always, turn a new leaf and go back to the right track. And like you said, we also need encouragement from people, right? Because there's just something encouragement does to you, knowing that there's someone out there that believes in you. You personally, you want to, work hard, right? And you want to just make
Mhm.
yourself proud and make the other person proud too. So yeah, it's just how it works, right? So now I want us,
Well, it's
I thought this one. Your journey into fitness began almost by accident, right? While doing a co-op, that's if I'm correct, at a
yeah,
taekwondo
you got it.
dojo. So what was it about, basically? Hmm.
Yeah. So, if I may, I'm going to start the story from the very beginning because I think
Yeah.
this will resonate with the listeners. When you're 13, right? Going way back, when you're 13, right? We start going through puberty. This is that time we become very aware of the
Mhm.
world and all the different things that are changing. We can become very self-conscious. And some people they manage that and navigate that very well. Other people they have a harder time with that. And they can carry into their
Mhm.
20s. And I think I was kind of one of those people. When I walked into like my first day of high school, I was in this gym class. I'm looking around at all my peers, and there was this one guy that kept looking at me, and he looked very angry at me, very upset. And I was trying to figure out why A, he was looking at me like he wanted to kill me, and then like B, how he could be so big because he looked like he was a foot and a half taller than me and like 30 pounds heavier. Like I was scared. I was vulnerable at this time. And I'd realized that like a week earlier, we were playing a soccer match against each other, and he was actually a guy that I got in a fight with in a game, and he got kicked out and I didn't. And we ended up winning this
Mhm.
game. And I don't think he really forgot about it, but he decided to make my life hell for the next 2, 3 years, about 2.5 years. And he would pick on me and he would bully me. And I remember, one time we were in the gym change room after swimming class, and I've got my trunks off and about to put my underwear on, and he took a wet towel and he started whipping me with it in front of everybody in the class. And it's one of those moments, and I think we've all experienced this even in our 20s, where like people are joking around and they might be making fun of us, and then we end up laughing along with it, but really it hurts us inside. And that those are really tough moments because we want to scream for help, but we don't want to be vulnerable. And I just remember him then over the next couple of years, like taking my lunch money, saying, you better give it to me or we're gonna have a problem here. And I was looking for any kind of thing in order to get this bully off my back or to feel more confident in myself. And that's kind of where this Taekwondo co-op comes in, right? Taekwondo is a martial art. I was there volunteering for school credits, and the owner said to me, there's nothing to do today. Why don't you go work out in the gym? And the gym is really like a dusty mirror and a couple dusty weights, right? It's not really a gym, but that's what he called it. So I go over there and I
Mhm.
grab this weight and I start just like doing some bicep curls, which is where you get the weight in your hand, just try to curl up towards your shoulder and bring it back down. And after I was done, I just felt this sensation I never felt before. I felt like the clouds of heavens parted, sun shone through it, hallelujah sang from the heavens. I felt almost like reborn in a sense. It was a real like moment of clarity. And I think we all have those at different times in our life. And I just learned and discovered like I have to keep doing this thing. And I did keep doing it. And it didn't get rid of the bully situation. I did my own
Mhm.
work in my 20s. And if we want to talk about it, we can discuss it afterwards, where I did my own work in my 20s where I had to really come to terms with what that meant and what it was. But I'm actually very grateful for that hard time in my life with the bullying because it led me to where I am today
Mhm.
and to the strong person I am, right? And that was crafted through my 20s and my 30s, right? Um, but that is kind of the thing that I actually really like about exercise is if you're someone who's listening to this and you're having a hard time and you're not feeling the most confident and you're trying to navigate life, one of the things that we know is a way to improve confidence is for us to be able to look back and see all of our successes, right? Sometimes we can use affirmations, but to our logical brain, subconscious, if we can look back and see, look at all these times I was successful, we feel more confident in something. And every time you go to the gym, you can do a little bit more weight or do one or more two repetitions or go a little bit longer on your run, or you can always do something a little bit better. There's always something you can improve. As long as you can keep getting to the gym a few times a week, you can look back every day and be like, I'm getting a little bit better. Right. And so, we talk about like, how can we grow and, how did I get into fitness and the origins of all this stuff? It was all be just because I was a vulnerable boy and I wanted to feel more confident. I found this thing that sparked my joy. Right. Not to get, not to get punny because, your name's Joy and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's why I love exercise.
Wow. Oh, I just thought of something, right? Because I remember I have a friend, right, that's also like into fitness. The day he doesn't go to the gym, he feels some kind of way, like it's very uncomfortable. So he always makes sure he goes to the gym. He said something that fitness isn't just about, working out and seeing results in your body. He actually does more than, the result that comes with the body. It does more in other areas of your life, right? So me
Mhm.
talking to you now as like the expert, right? What does fitness actually do to you? Apart from your body, what other positive things does it do to somebody's life, basically?
Yeah, I mean, we could look at this in so many different ways, from like a physiological way, a psychological way, even if you want to call it like an esoteric spiritual experience,
Mhm.
right? Like some people do have those when they exercise. From a like from the thing that most people know, right? There's like, oh, you
Mhm.
improve your strength, you can improve your cardio, your heart, like you can be over
Mhm.
healthy, you can add muscle, you can lose body fat. I think most people know that. Some of maybe the less interesting things that people might not know is that if you're somebody where you want to sleep better, you want to feel more well rested, when you exercise, you actually release molecules from your muscles that actually go to your brain and they actually tell you, hey, we've had a bit of a harder physical day today. We need to have a better night's sleep. So every day that you exercise, you'll actually sleep better. And if there's anything we know about sleep, I mean, like you tell me, do you feel better on 8 hours of sleep or 4 hours of sleep? Right?
Mhm.
If I get 8 hours of sleep, I'm like meteors could be coming down from the heavens and everything could be blowing around me. I'd be like, this is nice. Do you know what I mean? If I get
Yeah.
5 hours of sleep and I'm having the best day ever, I'll just be like a curmudgeon. I'll be like, why is this happening? And like sleep is just a huge regulator of emotions, right? So exercise will help with your sleep. Um, from a from a mental strength and resilience standpoint, exercise requires you to push your body to some degree in order to adapt. That's how the human body works. It adapts to stimulus. You lift heavier weights, your body gets used to lifting those weights, you get stronger, use even heavier weights, you move forward, right? It's a stimulus response relationship. Well, one of the interesting things is that if you want to grow and have more strength or have a better cardio or lose more body fat or whatever that is, you have to push yourself to do that, which inherently will help you build more resilience and more grit in your life, right? There's so many times where we've got to be able to be uncomfortable, comfortably uncomfortable, whether it's like going out on dates with somebody if we're not used to that, or going for job interviews for the first time, or whatever that thing will be. When you get through your 20s out into the real world, I think we can both agree life changes a lot, right? Some people, they get out of school or they're out into the workforce and all of a sudden things are totally different. And exercise can help you build a kind of resilience that allows you to push through those uncomfortable situations because you're used to being uncomfortable in the gym a little bit. Um, I think maybe like one more small interesting one that I think is like a real fun, nerdy one from like a physiological, psychological brain perspective is that you've got a part of your brain called the mid-cingulate cortex. It's so wordy. Science people always need to have complicated names for things. Don't need to remember it. But what it does and what it's been shown to do is that it gets bigger in response to doing novel things or challenging yourself. It's essentially the size of this area of your brain is directly correlated to how much grit that you have, how much discipline that you have, right? And I think we can all agree the more discipline we have to push through the hard things in life, the more we're going to grow. That's all growth is doing things we're not sure about, challenging ourselves, be uncomfortable and getting better. And so exercise, especially novel exercise, has been shown to help this area grow more. So if people just go do some exercise and just challenge themselves a little bit, they'll have this grit and resilience that carries over to other areas of their life. Right. I could keep going on here, but those are, I think, some of the cool, interesting ones.
Wow. Oh, all right. So thank you for that one, actually. Like you said, grit, resilience, discipline, and above all, good looks too. You get to look good, actually. So yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
talking about fitness, longevity, and rethinking exercise, right? You said that a lot of conventional fitness advice simply doesn't work for many people over 40. So what inspired you to, challenge that thinking, first of all?
Yeah. Yeah. So before I answer that question, let me just make sure on the same page. Your audience is usually people in their 20s, correct?
Right, right.
Okay.
Correct.
So if it's okay, I'm going to answer that kind of in that context because I was talking about people over 40 right now. These would be like I get that's like half a lifetime I got left to live before I got to worry about that, Glenn, right? So
Right.
like let's talk about maybe some of the advice maybe for if you're 20, if that's
For
okay.
20, right.
Great. Yeah. Because I would say about 90% of my clients are over the age of 65, but I have a few young people that I work with who are in their university years who've been working with me for a little bit that either play on sports teams or they just want to stay healthy and fit. And there's things that we got to be talking about. And so I will maybe dispel some of like the bigger fitness myths that are out there that people might come across. Um, I think this is probably one of the biggest ones, especially if you want to have like healthy joints and you want to progress in the gym. A lot of people are going to go do resistance training and exercise, and the instinct is going to be, I have to crush it and push myself as hard as I can every day that I go to the gym. I've got to go right to failure. This is either for the cardio training where they're doing like treadmills or stair mills, or they're in their exercise fitness class, or whether they're doing weights. They're going to like, I got to push it every single time and like blow my muscle out. Annihilating your muscle will make you sore and you will make some progress, sure. But at the end of the day, the science is pretty clear. You don't have to push it that hard to make challenge. In fact, you don't want to push your body to a place where you're going to annihilate it and destroy. You just want to stimulate. I always say a stimulate, not annihilate. So if you want to grow bigger muscles or you want to get stronger and more fit, you can really stop one, two, maybe even three repetitions away from failure, still get 90% of the benefits, but then not feel like you're super tired the next day. Because one of the things that happens if, like, for example, your friend might experience this. I think you said he goes to the gym like every day, and if he doesn't go to the gym, he doesn't feel himself, right? People like that who go to the gym every day have to push themselves. Eventually, they build up so much fatigue that no matter how much sleep they get, they don't really get caught up and they feel tired. And I don't want your listeners to have like be in a bad mood, right? There's like an optimal amount of dosing to do, right? And what's good for one person could be bad for another, right? It's an old medical thing that doctors would say, like the dose makes the poison. So people don't have to go right to failure if they're doing resistance training. They can go close to it and then just save their joints and feel pretty good. Um, and the other thing I would probably say is that I think a lot of people in their 20s, at least I'm seeing this now. Keep in mind, and people are going to call me like, what do they call like a boomer or something like that? That's the slang in America. They call old people like me boomers. It means from the baby boom era, even though I'm only 40. When I grew up, we didn't have YouTube, right? Like in my 20s, YouTube was just barely being a thing, right? It was people like showing videos of their cats. Do you know what I mean? And like
Right.
Facebook and social media, Instagram wasn't even around yet. Like that's when I grew. I remember when there wasn't internet, right? Now I've really made myself old. But the reason I'm sharing this is because, sorry, excuse me. The reason I'm sharing this is because uh, I want people to understand we didn't have like the same information that like some of these younger people do. And one of the things that I wish somebody had told me that I've seen multiple times on social media now that I would like to share with everyone is that you're in your 20s and you're probably thinking about doing exercise more. I see it way more now than when I was younger. These are way more teenagers and people in the early 20s exercising, right? That's really what I was getting to. And I think a lot of people want to learn to stay consistent with exercise, but they have a real time doing it. Just like maybe they want to eat healthier or they want to do whatever thing they have a hard time sticking with it. Right. That's one of the hard things is just create new habits. And so if you're that person, I can understand and relate to that because when I first started, even though I loved exercise, I wasn't as consistent as I could be. And so here's where I think the big mistake here is that most people, they look for motivation, go to the gym, right? I've heard like my friends in the past or like even my wife talk about, she's like, oh, like Kylie Jenner's whatever quads, motivation, like Michelle Obama's arms, right? Michelle Obama's arms, motivation, right? Motivation's fleeting. Motivation goes very quickly. The second I don't see Michelle Obama's arms anymore, I'm not going to the gym. One of the things that most people, whether they're in their 20s or later, are going to benefit from is if they're trying to make going to the gym a consistent habit, they've got to find a way to remove the obstacles that are in the way to get there. Most people are thinking about just trying to get to the gym. They're not considering what's in the way. If you are in your 20s and you're in school all day still, or you're working a job, by the time you get done, you may go home and you may say to yourself, I don't want to exercise anymore. I'm too tired. You've lost the motivation to do that. If that's an obstacle that you have, you got to figure out how to remove that obstacle. Maybe it looks like in the morning when you're fresh and full of energy, you pack your gym bag with your stuff that you need and you leave it in your car, or you bring it with you to school, or you bring it to work, and then you don't have to go home and have that extra obstacle. You just go right to the gym and exercise. If you're someone who doesn't love the gym, maybe you just make an agreement with yourself that you just do stuff that you like to begin with instead of the routine that you're supposed to follow. Because if you don't like it, you're not going to keep going. I would encourage anyone in their 20s to figure out really like what they want to accomplish. Most people know what they want to have from a goals perspective, but then identify the obstacles that are in the way and then create a structure or a system to get around those obstacles. So the success happens for you. So you don't have to worry about motivation.
Wow. Oh, all right. So thank you for that one. All right. I have a lot of questions, right? And, like we're in today's world with the advent of internet, there's a lot of physical fitness advice out there. We don't even know which one to follow at this point. There's a whole lot, right? But I'm going to ask from personal experience. Now, I have a friend that says that jogging, right? Jogging isn't actually good for our body. What we need is either to sprint or to walk, right? We are not actually supposed to jog, that he doesn't think jogging will do much to our body. So that is one. I would love for you to address that. Then the second one, most people in our 20s today, we are kind of, I don't want to say overweight, right? But most of us are trying to lose weight. We've tried everything possible in the gym, right? So what do you think is the best kind of workout to do, to burn fat? That's the second one. And then the third one, right? Also from a friend of mine. I don't know if you'll be able to remember, but I'll remind you
I'm not
anyways.
going to remember.
So,
I'm not going to remember. You're going to have to tell me one at a time. Why don't we start with the jogging one,
okay,
and
let's
then
start
we'll
with the
go to the
jogging.
other one, and then we'll continue on from there. Excellent, perfect.
Okay.
This is gonna be the longest podcast you've ever had. So the first question was jogging isn't good. We should be sprinting
Or
or what
walking.
was the other one? Or walking.
Walking, taking walks.
Yeah, right. So let's look at it this way. If somebody had just come out of like say that someone was 20 and they had just come out of like breaking their leg, right? And they were just off of crutches. Should they be sprinting?
No.
No, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. If somebody was an athlete and they had to move very, very, very fast all the time, would we train them with just walking? Yeah, probably not, right? So this is where like things are like very, and I hate to say this because people don't like this. It's contextual, right?
Mm.
Some people, if they go right into sprinting, like in their 20s, maybe some of them are okay if they're athletic and they have a relatively healthy body. If you take, like you said, like someone who's like average and like even if they're like a little overweight and they just start trying to sprint, like when you sprint, it can be 7 times your body weight of force on your one leg as you're moving forward, right? If you think about just standing usually on 2 legs, all of a sudden that's 14 times more work on one leg. That can cause some real pain and discomfort if somebody's not used to doing those things. So the question really is, okay, who are we talking about? What is the goal that they have? And will this thing help them get there? And can they tolerate what's necessary to do that on their body, right? For most people, If they just start sprinting in their 20s, if they've been like not doing too much, that sprinting, there's a high chance they're going to hurt themselves if they keep doing that. Their body's not ready for it. If they're already athletic and they're moving a lot, maybe they can already do that. That's fine. There's nothing like inherently wrong with sprinting or jogging or walking. It's like, who's your goal? What do you want to be able to do? Right? Does it make you feel good? Right? Maybe you like going for a jog, Joy. Maybe that makes your heart happy. And maybe that's just what you got to do that day if you're dealing with some rough stuff. Right? If you can handle that in your body, should you do it? Absolutely. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. Right? It just kind of like know what your end goal is. Right? So the thing that, if your friend said that to me, and said it to me, I would say, okay, so like, I would ask why, like, what is your reasoning for that? Right. And ultimately, whether you're 20 or you're 60 or 80, it comes back to like, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And is this the best thing for you to do? I'm very staunch on like trying to make exercise fit the person, not trying to give like as many broad answers. So I apologize if that's not the most exact answer, but I mean, there's pros and cons to everything. If you want to talk about the pros and cons, or if that's enough, we can move on to whatever the second question was. I forgot what it was. It's up to you.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And I think you're right when you said it's contextual, actually, right? Not many people will just jump right into sprinting. Let me use myself, for example. I don't think I'll be able to even go 1 minute sprint and I might just pass out or something. So jogging would work for me, right? And for someone who prefers to slow it down a little, you could walk, right? So actually, it's whatever works for you is fine, basically. Wow. Okay. So the second one is for those who are trying to lose weight in the gym, right?
Mhm.
What are the
Right.
kind of exercise or workout they should be doing?
Man, I think I'm gonna get the most down votes and unliked exercise, unliked, I think people are not gonna love what I have to say, but I'll be very, very clear with
As
people. And I
long as
think
it's
the
the
reasoning and
truth.
logic,
Okay.
well, listen,
Right. As long as it's
snap,
the
snap,
truth,
snap, snap,
nobody.
snap.
Right.
Let's go for it. So
Right.
your body, right, is a closed
Mhm.
energy system. What that means is that it's energy that you consume in through food and energy out
Mhm.
in terms of how much you move and your body's metabolism, keeping you alive, thinking, all the different regeneration of your tissues. That's how our body ends up determining its weight, so to speak, right? Think about like your body weight as a bathtub, right? Where you've got like a spout where you can turn it on and water comes in, and you've got like a
Mhm.
drain that you can plug, right? If the water is on high and the drain is plugged, water goes up in the tub.
Mhm.
If the drain is open but the tap is off, no water comes down, water empties out
Mhm.
of the tub, right?
Mhm.
Your energy coming in, what you eat is like the water coming in, and
Mhm.
how much energy you expend is almost like how much of that drain do you have open and how fast can that water get out. That kind of is how you look at like body weight. So at the end of the day, that is everything that determines how heavy you are or light you
Mhm.
are or however much you weigh. There is no like magic other than that. There's no magic foods that speed up your metabolism or anything like that. How does that frame, right, context for your question? Well, the best gym exercises then become whatever is going to allow you to maximize how much energy you're burning during the day, right? Versus
Mhm.
how much you're taking in. So if somebody
Mhm.
wants to change their body composition, they have to attack it from two different ways. Managing how much energy they have coming in terms of food, and then how much they're burning through the day. There's plenty of ways to do that, but going to the gym is harder effort. It's more sustained for that
Mhm.
hour, hour and a half, or 45 minutes, however long you're there. And so you burn more energy in that time frame than probably any other time of your day, right? And so there are kind of two ways to look at this then. Whatever exercises are going to help you burn more energy, and usually cardiovascular activity is more moving than resistance training. So that tends to burn a little
Mhm.
bit more, will be a little bit more helpful for burning fat and building muscle, right? Compared to then just
Mhm.
doing resistance training, right? So, the short answer, right, is what's going to help you burn the most energy in an hour in the gym. That's kind of the short answer.
Mhm.
But the other side of that equation is what do you want your body to look like? Is that important to you? right? Because if someone wants to, I assume people are going to the gym, and this question comes from the place of like, not only do I want to maybe lose some body fat, but maybe if you're a lady, you want some pop in glutes, right? You want nice legs, or if you're a guy, chest, arms, whatever that would be. Well, then it's kind of like, well, how do I grow those things, right? So it's kind of like, interestingly enough, resistance training and building muscle helps you have this ability to burn more energy just at rest, right? Because if I have, let's say I'm 120 pounds of muscle versus 150 pounds of, 110 pounds of muscle, but the same body weight, my muscle just requires more energy to keep on. So I burn more energy just being around in my day to day life. So, how does all this come together? We probably want to spend some of our time doing some resistance training. There's no special magical exercises, but it'll help us build the muscle to burn more energy when we're not working out, but also help us give us the aesthetic or the look that we want. And then we probably want to do some kind of a cardio activity that burns energy so that we have more calories burned so we can lose more body fat. And then the truth is, it's very easy to out eat a good workout. Like I can go to the gym for an hour and I might burn 400 calories, and I can go eat 2 candy bars and I've just undone all my hard work, right? It's very easy to do. Yeah. When you look at that from that perspective, it's a very different equation. People should probably focus on doing the right stuff in the gym, right? That stuff we talked about, but you can't out exercise a poor diet, right? So please don't expect to change the way your body looks and feels if you're going to go like drive your body like a race car around a racetrack, but then like put really crappy fuel inside of it. These two things don't match very well. So, right, you got to be cautious about what you eat, and then you got to do some kind of blend of resistance training and cardio stuff. And I hope I made the science at least easy enough for people to understand why that's going to work.
Wow. Ooh, okay. I feel like I'm learning a lot, right? I feel like I should be paying for this information.
I'm having a great time. This is fun for me. Let's keep it going. What's that third question? I don't even know if you got it out. I'm not even sure what I'm answering right now.
All right. So the third one, also, back to my friend, right? Because I just before this conversation, I thought of a whole lot of my friends that work out, and I want to ask questions regarding their lives. All right. So there's another one. You know, is all it has to do with building muscles, right? Gaining muscles. He goes to the gym almost every day. In fact, every day, including Sundays. But he doesn't seem to, gain that muscle he wants, right? So, what do you think is the reason why he's not gaining muscle despite going to the gym regularly?
Mhm. So if he was sitting here in front of me and we were having this discussion, my instinct is always to ask more questions because we got to get the context for this. I could just give you an answer, right? But the questions I would ask him are like, what exercises are you doing? Like, what's your routine right now, right? Like, let me understand if you're giving your body the right stimulus to encourage it to grow muscle. And then the second question I would ask is like, what is your eating like? Are you eating either enough energy or are you eating enough protein to build your muscle? And we can talk about that in a second. And then the third question would be like, are you doing like enough of the right things inside the gym in order to build the muscle, right? So let's address I'll address the nutrition end real quick because it's pretty simple, and then I maybe go into the muscle building aspect of things. Your body's prime directive is to keep you alive. It's not worried about building muscle. That's like a secondary thing, right? Your body just, when you do the right resistance training, it says to itself, oh, I better add muscle, otherwise I will not survive. And that's why your body does that, right? It's a stimulus response, like we discussed earlier. And so your body trying to keep you alive will take the protein that you need to build muscles and it will first put it to the vital organs, to your skin, to your heart, to your spleen, your kidneys, all the other organs that keep you alive. That's the first place your body's going to put that protein. And if you're not eating enough protein to then take care of those vital needs and then build muscle on top of it, it doesn't matter how much you exercise and do the right things. You're not giving your body enough of the right building material, right? going to do exercise and try to build muscles like trying to build a house. You could have all the workers there doing the right things, but if they don't have any of the right materials, it doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to build the house. So that's kind of the nutrition end of thing. And most people need about like 1 gram per pound of body weight if they want to grow their muscle, or they're going to need a roughly what's the conversion for kilograms? About 2 kilograms per 2 grams of protein per kilogram of muscle. I'm not sure what your conversion your readers your listeners use, but that's the first part, right? Get enough protein in, otherwise you don't have the building blocks to grow your muscle. The second part here, it's actually much simpler than most people think. The exercise routine that's going to help you grow muscle is training your muscles every 2 to 3 days, training somewhere between 5 repetitions and 30 repetitions, which seems like a lot, but that's what the research shows us that we need to do. And for the week, you're trying to hit between 8 and on the far end, you can probably do up to 30 sets of an exercise. Most people probably don't need to do 30. Most people are going to be fine somewhere between like 8 and 15. So what does that look like practically? Because that just seems like a bunch of numbers right now. You could do like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday resistance training routine where you do like a pushing motion, like a bench press or a dumbbell press, and you could do a rowing motion, like a kind of a machine row or a dumbbell row. And then you could do like a giant lower body exercise, like a leg press or a squat. And if you're doing that 3 days a week, and each time you go to the gym, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you do 3 to 4 sets of leg press, 3 to 4 sets of a chest press, 3 to 4 sets of a row, and you do that consistently, you will grow muscle. You will grow muscle. Is it going to be the most optimal way from a bodybuilding perspective? And I say bodybuilding because that's what most people in their 20s are trying to build muscle follow. They'll do they want to make sure they do like every single thing under the sun. I got to do bicep curls and elbow extension and calf raises and knee extensions and knee curls. I got to train every joint under the sun. And yeah, we can go, there's a conversation where you can go really deep into that. But for like the person just trying to get started, generally speaking, trying to get these like 8 to 15 sets in per week for these muscles is the way to go. If you want to go more times, you can do like an upper body and a lower body day where maybe you do, 3 or 4 sets of a bench press, then you maybe do 3 or 4 sets of an elbow extension, 3 or 4 sets of a dumbbell curl, 3 or 4 sets of your shoulders, 3 or 4 sets of your row. You do a little bit of all that. You go home, you eat your protein, you come back the next day, you do your legs, you do your squat and your knee curls, your leg extensions, same idea. And then you maybe take a day off, or even if you want to, you can start exercising the next day. As long as you're stimulating your muscles every 48 to 72 hours, they're going to grow, right? And the reason this is kind of exciting and I get kind of like a little nerdy about it is because it gives you all kinds of different options. So no matter what equipment you have, whether you have like dumbbells you're working with at home or you've got access to a full gym, as long as you're getting those exercises in under those parameters, you're going to be just fine building muscle, right? The alternative is true too, where like if you're trying to do your full body every day, 6 days a week, and you're not resting enough, that's probably going to be a problem, right? So just to kind of sum up here, in a week's time, if you're getting between 8 and 15 sets per body part you're trying to grow in, hard sets where you go from 1 to 2 to 3 sets from failure, and you just try to train your muscles every 40 to 72 hours, you will grow muscle. If you're not stimulating your muscles either frequently enough with enough challenge, right, between that 5 and 30 rep range, or you're not eating enough to support that, right? The one other very small thing I might tack on there that may make a bit of a difference for people is if they give their body too many competing goals. If your friend is going to do like 45 minutes of weights and then he's going to do 45 minutes of hard cardio, his body might have a harder time trying to figure out, do you want me to get stronger or do you want me to become a better endurance runner? I don't know what you want me to do. Let me do a little bit of both things. And it might seem like he's not making the progress that he wants to, right? It's like if I have 100 goals at one time and I'm only putting a little bit of energy into everything, I'm not going to go very far, right? But if I focus on kind of like growing one thing in my life at a time right now, that thing will get a lot more attention and it'll go a lot quicker. And I'll grow a lot more. That might be the other thing that's stopping your friend from progressing as much, but I don't know until I talk to him a little bit more. But that what I'd say is like my best general advice for progressing in the gym to build some muscle for sure.
Wow. Oh, okay, so I'm definitely playing him this tape. Let everybody listen
Lovely.
to this. Right. And another thing, right, still on, muscle building, right? Do you think genetics has like, does it play a role when it comes to, building muscle?
It for sure does. It's unequivocally 100% does affect us. Sometimes different people from different reasons. Like, for example, um, our genetics determine like our bone structure. Some people are very
Right.
tall, some people are very short, right? And because of just the way their bone structure is, some people look like they have bigger muscles, some people they don't. We can just see this in the way they look. Some people respond very, very well to resistance training exercise, and they tend to play a lot of. We see a lot of these people make it into high-end sports, right? Um, I like maybe not so much in like football in terms of like European international football, but like American football, a lot of these guys are big burly men, and there are people that don't have the genetics to do that. The people that are those big burly guys, they become punters or kickers. They go play soccer or like a European football, right? They don't have those kind of genetics, but certainly genetics play a huge part. And some people, unfortunately, are just gifted with genetics that are better for muscle building. These are the kind of people where like they run up the stairs in the morning and their muscles get bigger, and we all hate them. You know what I mean? We all wish we were them. Other people, they don't have the best genetics for maybe muscle building, but they might be better at like more endurance exercise, right? Kind of depends on like, what their parents and God gave them, so to speak. So it definitely plays a role. One of the interesting things is that there are like very, very, very few people. I think it's less than 1% that are non-responders to like resistance training for exercise. If people want to change the way they look, most people will be able to gain muscle. A lot of it comes down to, are you doing the right things in the right way? Most people, when they just start exercising, they don't do a lot of the right stuff in the right way. And because of that, they feel like it's not working for them. But the reality is what they're doing isn't working. It's not that the whole thing won't work for them. It's just they're not executing properly, right? And so it takes some time to learn some movements. You got to educate yourself. But yeah, genetics does play a role, but probably not as much as people would think. Everyone should still be able to have like a lean, healthy body that they love the way it looks and feels. Either when they look in the mirror, or they're doing sports. It just takes some time to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And it's a journey like life is. So, welcome to your 20s, everybody.
All right. Okay. So yes, thank you, Glenn. This has been absolutely amazing. I've learned a whole lot, right? And I would like to ask you, because I believe you've worked with a lot of people, right? Both 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Mhm.
So what have these clients or these people taught you about personal growth and resilience?
That is a tough one. Hmm. May I tell you a story? I'm
Definitely.
gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you a story. This young man, he's not 20, but for the context of the story, it might as well be. He's 38 years old, and he had a injury to his spine that he had surgery on, and the surgery didn't help, and he still walked around with pain and discomfort. And the reason he actually ended up in my office was not just his back bothering, but he got diagnosed with something called multiple sclerosis. Do you know what that is? Have you heard of that
No,
before? No.
no.
It's a rare genetic disorder where your immune system, the thing that's supposed to protect you from like bacteria and viruses, it starts eating you. It starts eating your nerves, and you start losing control of your body. At first, your ankles and your wrists and your hands, you start getting weaker, but then it eventually, if you don't treat it and manage it, it eats your organs, and it's a very, very painful, very slow death. It's a very hard way to go, and he just got diagnosed with this. So it was already starting to eat his muscles in his ankles. So he couldn't really walk for 10 feet without holding onto a wall. And every time he sneezed, he would worry it was going to throw his back out. He'd have to take 2 or 3 days off of work. And this is the hardest thing is he had like 3 young kids who he just want to play around with and make memories. right? I don't know what the equivalent would be in your 20s, but imagine getting a disease in your 20s that stops you from doing everything in your life that you want to. Like it interferes with your career, you seeing friends. You can't do anything without pain and discomfort. And maybe some of your listeners experience that, but it's really, really hard to go through that. And this particular person, his name's Jonathan. I read him about him in my book. He is probably the most disciplined, most gritty person I've ever met in my entire life. When I ask him, like, how do you deal with all this? He's like, I just keep trying things and I just don't give up and I just don't make failure an option. No matter what, there's a solution. I just haven't found it yet. And, we did some work together and I won't bore people with like the exact specifics, but we just found out what he could do and we just progressed it and he got stronger and then eventually that had him feel less pain. Then we did more stuff that he couldn't do before but now he had access to because he was feeling better, and he went from not being able to play with his kids and do things in life to be able to go on hikes and travel with his family and play with them. And it just shows you how when you don't give up and you don't make failure an option, you will eventually find your way to what it is that you want to achieve. And I thank Jonathan for that because I get to tell his story. He gave me permission. I get to tell his story. And every time I feel like I can't do it or I'm not enough, or why would anybody have me on a podcast interview me? I think about his story and it helps me. Sorry. It helps remind me that we all have gifts and we all have problems in our life. And the way we get more gifts is by dealing with life's problems, because there's no such thing as a problem with a gift behind it, because those gifts are the growth that we wish we had. So I suppose I'm telling that story as a reminder to myself. But for everyone else joining us, I hope it's also a reminder for you that no matter where you are in life, if you just keep going, you will get to where you want to go. That's what I'll answer that question.
Oof.
Yeah, tell me about it, right?
Right, right.
Hope, hope.
Thank you, Glenn. Oh, it helps. I feel so, wow. I feel like I don't have an excuse, right? Nobody should have an excuse for, you know, doing better. But before I say anything, I would like to say shout out to Jonathan. He's definitely a hero. This is story anybody who hears it would want to just do better with life, basically. Wow. Ooh, shout out to Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan. We love you
I'll
already.
pass it on. I'll let him know. I'll let him know today. I'll text
Oh,
him.
oh, I would be glad. Wow, thank you, Glenn. This has been amazing. I want to say thank you for sharing your story, and also I'm so glad you were able to say this particular story and be vulnerable about it. It just makes me feel happy. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm glad you're able to, say your story. It just shows that this space can be comfortable, right, for you to say your story. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Glenn. And yes. Right, before you go, right, I would like to ask, do you have anything you want to say to people out there? I know I've learned a whole lot, right, but I believe you still have more you want to tell, maybe not regarding fitness, but life generally. Do you have any advice for the younglings?
Yeah, it's okay to not know what to do in a situation. I think life is always going to throw you new situations. I think maybe this is probably one of the big learnings that I'm having right now. And I don't think it's a 40-year-old's learning. I think it's a learning that everyone can probably take away from. There are always going to be problems in life. We're always going to experience problems because every time we grow, we just come up against situations we've never been in before, and that's just a new problem for us to solve. And so the two things I will share on that are it's okay to have problems. That means you're growing. Good for you, right? You just don't want to keep having the same problems, right?
Mm.
So, deal with the stuff that comes up, and it's okay to fail at it if you keep up with it. And just know that you're never not going to have problems. You don't wake up one day and all of a sudden life is great because you hit 40 and you're making a lot more money and you've got like the ideal spouse and partner. No, there's more problems with that. And the better you can think ahead in the future and understand what problems are going to come next, the more prepared you will be for them, right? It's just like how some people, like, maybe some people in the audience are thinking about this, but some people in their 20s start thinking about having a family, right? And you don't just wake up and be like, today I'm putting a baby in my wife. Like, that's not how that really works. Do you know what I mean? You kind of think
Right.
about that for a bit and you talk about it and you plan about it, like what's going to cost financially, how is our time going to be, what's our sleep going to be like. You can kind of think about that. And if you're like a young person in your 20s, you've got these career things, these health things, these friendship things. You're going to think about these things that happen, right? And you can think about what's going to happen in the future as well and do your best to plan for it. But just know, like, things aren't always going to go your way, and that's okay. Just keep going, man. Or woman or whoever you are. That's just life. Like, welcome to the human experience. Enjoy yourself best that you can and enjoy trying to find ways to solve those problems. So I know that's a bit of a roundabout way. That was just what's on my mind, but I appreciate you letting me say it.
Oh, ooh, all right, thank you, Glenn. And they always say, I remember a guest told me, this too shall pass, right? So whatever situation it is you're in, it will pass. We always think it's just the positive, the negative too, right? You might be experiencing something negative, it will pass. You might be experiencing something positive, it will pass. It's just part of the human experience, like you said, right? So, yes, thank you, Glenn. It moves me to the final segment of my podcast. I call it the rapid fire segment. You could either answer with a word or a phrase starting now.
Oh no.
So, what is one word that describes your 20s?
Tumultuous.
Okay. So what is one
Can I
word
say
that
fucked up?
describes
Fucked
you
up.
now?
Sorry? A word that describes me now? No, sorry, I take that back.
Yeah,
Not effed up. One word that describes me now, driven.
driven. Wow. Okay. So do you prefer morning workouts or evening workouts?
Oh, whenever it fits in my schedule. That's my answer.
So you're good at both. All right. So
Yeah.
what's your favorite workout?
The one that I need to feel my best.
Hmm. 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 Okay. I'm thinking about it. It's a rapid fire anyway. So I was gonna ask, do you mind elaborating on that? Yeah. Very rapid
Sure.
fire
No,
thing.
you want me to elaborate? I'll elaborate.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
elaborate real quick. Um, you guys, I will. Some people in most people in their 20s, I don't think are going to get this. Your body just doesn't feel the way that it does now later on in life,
Yeah.
and I'd much rather not have to think about neck pain and back pain and be able to play softball and do the things I love. So while I do exercises to help me feel stronger, help me like enjoy the way I look in the mirror and build muscle, I always first do ones for my neck and for my back that make me feel my best, because if you don't, a healthy per a healthy person has a million dreams. An unhealthy person has one. They just want to feel good. Yeah.
Ooh, okay, now I understand. All right. So, what is one health myth you would love to see disappear?
You have to train to exhaustion and failure to see results.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. All right. And finally, what is one habit everyone should start today?
Simplest, easiest thing. If you want to start your day off right, uh, if you can, have a tall glass of water and go for a 15-minute walk. It'll
Hmm.
change your life.
Ooh, all right. I'm adopting that one, by the way. All right. So, yes, thank you, Glenn. And before you go, where can listeners get to learn more about you and also connect with you?
If they want, they can hop over to glenowen.ca. I don't think I'm either not, your people aren't necessarily my target audience, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't love having them over there. More than anything, I'm just grateful that we got to talk about some stuff today that I love talking about. I
Yeah.
often talk about mobility and strength, but I don't always get to talk about like hypertrophy and bodybuilding and body composition, which I also have a passion for, just not, what I normally talk about. So you could hope it came across. I love this conversation. This is a lot of fun. Thank you for having me. But yeah, if people want to learn more, go to glenowen.ca. And if not, that's okay too. Whatever you want to do, whatever's going to make you feel your day feel fulfilled, people, I want you to do that.
All right. Wow. Okay. And Glenn, thank you for, coming on my podcast. I'd like to say I've learned a whole lot, and I believe this would, change lives basically once it gets out there. A lot of people will be motivated. And yes, once again, I need to say this. Shout out to Jonathan, right? And yes, I'm gonna put your link in the show notes so it's easily accessible for listeners, right? And to my listeners, I want to say thanks for tuning into Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone you think might need it and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Once again, thank you, Glenn. Do have a wonderful day ahead of you.
This was amazing. Thank you again. Take
Oh.
care.